Please put your hands together for Dr. Christopher Green.
Good evening. It looks like most people have gone home. Oh, not at all. Right. Okay, I haven't got any slides, so sorry to disappoint you. Anyway, everyone's sort of talking about how they got into science, and I don't really know how I got into science, to be honest. I am a bit of a geek, you know, and thank you, Steve, for suggesting that, you know, geeks are sheep as well, which makes me feel better about that. Yeah, how did I get into? I don't really know. I've certainly never been an artist, and one of my students a few weeks ago pointed that out very clearly when I was in the lab. And I was drawing on the board a petri dish, you know, drawing a circle essentially, and she said, "You're not an artist, are you?" In a very cutting way. And no, I'm not. But anyway, how I got into that, I don't know. I used to like watching. I don't know if any of you seen at Christmas time they put on the Royal Institution put on Christmas lectures. Has anyone seen those? They're still going. You know, they were on at Christmas. You know, on BBC 4, I think. They actually played a big role, I think. They were actually great. So that, you know, they're all in load of school kids in the Royal Institution, and they do experiments there, and they have volunteers from the audience, and these sort of explosions and flashing lights and all this business. You know, that must have done it, I think, because I thought that looks exciting. So anyway, and I still watch them every year. Anyway, okay. So my remit was to tell you about some people who've inspired me. Okay, I think that's what I was asked to do. So that's what you're going to get. I think that's, you know, it's been quite a good exercise for me, because it's quite good to sort of think about, you know, your past and who has actually influenced you and how they've influenced you. You know, that's quite fun, and hopefully, you know, as I relay that to you, you'll be inspired as well. I didn't get a bachelor's degree. I went straight from school into the North Middlesex Hospital, where I worked in the microbiology lab there as a technician, or as they used to call them there, a medical laboratory scientific officer. Which sounds very posh, doesn't it, really? They call them biomedical scientists now. Anyway, I just my notes here is just to remind me who to talk about. One of the guys who was there, a pretty senior bloke, was a guy called Mike Wren. And I'll just read a bit about him, actually, because he's a pretty eminent sort of bloke, really. So he used to work at University College Hospital in microbiology there. Then he moved to North Middlesex Hospital, where I was. After that, he then moved back to University College. He was, you know, he did a lot of work. I mean, he was basically doing diagnostic work, but he did a lot of research as well on anaerobic bacteria. He used to get very excited about anaerobic cabinets, and which, you know, if you're a microbiologist, you'll know those sort of organisms make some pretty revolting smells. So he would, you know, if there was a horrible smell, you knew he was around. When you used to open up a jar or something, and there would be this horrible odour coming out. But you know, he made some pretty big sort of breakthroughs in that area. And to sort of reward him, he was actually given a visiting chair at University of Westminster. He was awarded with an MBE, actually, in the New Year's Honours List 2007 for his services to biomedical science. So he was quite an eminent bloke, actually, but he was a bit of a cockney as well, so he didn't really sound very eminent. But he was. But I think something which really impacted on me about him is that he had the brain the size of a planet. He really did. He seemed to know everything about microbiology, nothing about anything else, but about microbiology, he knew everything. You know, so when you were in the lab and a sort of really weird specimen would end up on the bench, you had to do something with it, and everyone was thinking, what the hell do we do with this? You know, he would just know, oh, you've got to put it on this medium and this medium, you've got to do that, and then you've got to do this, and you're thinking, how the hell does he know this stuff? And of course, when you then isolated some organism from it, you know exactly what to do, which test here to do that, you know, once again, brain the size of a planet. So he was a very clever guy, very inspiring bloke. Okay, so when I left there and I went to do my masters, but forgotten some people. Right, there were some other people at North Middlesex Hospital there who made an impact. Probably in terms of the impact that Mike Wren had on me. They were relatively small, but there were sort of a couple of things that they said that actually did make an impact on me. One guy was a fairly junior bloke actually called Simon Hardy. And he was a bit of a joker, I suppose, which he was a pretty likeable sort of guy. But I can remember when I was, because I was doing day release college then, you see. It wasn't a degree, it was what was equivalent of like an HNC thing, but that's what I was doing. And I'd go to college on one day, and the next day I'd go back into work, and and he'd say, "Oh, what did you do?" Because he was really keen. He was geeky too. This was before I was a geek, I think. Okay? And he'd say, "What did you do?" And I said, "Oh, we did something such and such thing. It was pretty dull, And he said something which actually has stayed with me ever since. He said, "You really should develop an interest for that." And I sort of thought, what's he talking about? And it was sort of years went by. I came to understand what he meant. You should develop an interest for something. It's so easy, isn't it, that you sort of, when you're going to lectures or you have seminars or something, and really what you want to know, we can tell from what students say to us, is what they want to know is, how do we answer the questions in the exam? What effectively what they want to know is, what is the bare minimum I have to know to get my degree? That's a bit cynical, it's not quite like that. But actually, you might say, actually, I won't learn that because I don't need to know it. How do you know what you need to know? Okay, you may need certain things to pass the exam, but in terms of life, generally, you don't know what you're going to know, do you? You don't know what you're going to need to know, because you're not there yet. You may need to know all sorts of stuff. So there's, if you can gather lots of information about things, and take an interest in things, and actually look to actually see, is it worth me knowing this stuff? It might be interesting. Is it relevant to me? If it is, perhaps I should know about it. And so it's worth looking around, not being too narrow in what you feel you should know now, or what you should put your efforts into learning. Because, take an interest. Take an interest in things, have a broad interest in things. If you take an interest, and you're interested, chances are you'll probably be more interesting as well. That. Anyway, another guy I met at North Middlesex Hospital in microbiology was a guy called Richard Garrett. He was another joker. Maybe that's one a bit of a joker, but still. But anyway, his inspiration, or my inspiration of him, was really made up by 3 words. I can remember, working in the lab and doing something, and I didn't really quite understand how it worked. And he seemed to know his stuff. He passed the exams, and so he seemed a sensible person to ask. So I went up to him and I asked him, what's the difference between blah blah blah? Expecting him to give me the answer, because he would know this sort of stuff. And an interesting answer. At the time, it didn't seem very useful, and a bit annoying, frankly. But it's actually it has inspired me. So I said, "What's the difference between X and Y?" And he sort of came over to me, and I thought, here it comes. These are the words of wisdom. And he said, "Look it up." Thanks very much. I came to you for the answer. You just told me to look it up. But it's actually, there's a point to that. I think he said it because he's just bloody awkward, really, to be honest. But actually, no, there's a bigger thing there. There's a bigger thing there, because how many times do I find, and I'm sure my colleagues find, that in effect a lot of students come to you and say, and they want you to give them the answer or tell them something, when effectively what Richard was saying to me was, if you have the ability to find it out yourself, find it out yourself. And I think that's a very good thing to learn, because a learner, as a thinker, as a person. if you keep asking people and they tell you the answer straight away, you continue being dependent on them, really, because you don't really develop the skills of finding things out for yourself. So it's good to, rather than ask the teacher, to perhaps, if you think, well, perhaps I'll try and look this up myself, It's like, you have the wonderful internet now. I never had that in my youth. If they did have the internet, the pages would have been written in hieroglyphics. But, you have so many resources now, far more than we have. So, if you can find something out by, a bit of work yourself, do that. It will help develop you as a person. So, look it up. Okay, so I moved on from North Mid. I did my Masters. I then worked also, like Darshana, I went to the Hammersmith Hospital, the Royal Postgraduate Medical School there. And the head of department there was a lady called Beverly Griffin. And she died last year, actually. I noticed, I tried to see what I could find on the internet, and I actually came across her obituary in The Guardian. Okay, so you've got to be pretty big person to get your obituary in the Guardian. But anyway, she was a pretty eminent person. I'll just read a bit of it. Beverly Griffin, who has died aged 86, was a leading expert on viruses that cause cancer. She was the first woman to be appointed professor at the Royal Postgraduate Medical School, Hammersmith Hospital in West London, and is an example to aspiring women in science. Now, she was pretty smart because she wasn't satisfied in just getting one PhD. She got 2 PhDs. I mean, must be a glutton for punishment, but anyway. So she did. But not only was she really good at science, generally, I mean, she had her specialism, of course, but essentially she was a chemist, actually. She got her PhD in chemistry. And she used to love asking questions. The question she always used to ask PhD students in their viva was, draw me the chemical structure of ATP. And you think, now I wonder how many people here, including myself, could actually draw the chemical structure of ATP. I'm sure there are chemists here, they would do it, but I would struggle. Okay? Anyway, but she was clearly a very eminent person. But as well as being into science, she was very much into the arts, which actually, in my experience, is very rare. You're either a scientist or you're an artist. And as I've told you, I was never an artist. But, so as well as being really into science, knowing about lots of different scientific subjects, she'd like going to operas and going to concerts and things like that. And I can remember going to, as like a lab, we all went off with her to the Queen Elizabeth Hall to watch Mozart's Così fan tutte, the opera, which is not really something I did very often, but I did it just to go along with the rest. So there I was, sat in the front row with Beverly and the rest of the people there, and Beverly's husband, who turned out to be this is Thomas Lindahl, his name, who turned out to be a Nobel Prize winner. He shared the Nobel Prize for Chemistry in 2015 for his work on DNA repair. So not only was she pretty eminent, she was married to a pretty eminent bloke as well. And I always say that that's as, by sitting on the front row with someone who was going to be a Nobel Prize winner is the closest I'm ever going to get to a Nobel Prize. I can't imagine I'm ever going to get it. Anyway, but what really inspired me about Beverly is that despite being the person that she was academically, is that she would always treat everyone I saw her talk to with the greatest respect and dignity. So she would talk to, other professors, talk to, the dean of the medical school. She would talk to, people who would clean her office at the end of the day in exactly the same way. And I don't think there are many people that do that, actually. It's so easy, isn't it, to sort of see someone who's very eminent and treat them with a lot of straight and treat them with a lot of respect. And treat other people as, well, they don't quite matter so much. Beverly was never like that. And she was someone who, you never had to earn her respect. You had her respect from day one, even a humble PhD student as I was at the time. So that was great. So, the big up to now have been, we've had people that with brains the size of a planet, and people with MBEs, people with numerous PhDs, married to Nobel Prize winners. But on thinking over the last few days, who has inspired me, believe it or not, the person I would say who's inspired me the most has actually been a student. One particular student who I can honestly say I had the privilege of working with quite a few years ago, shortly after I came here in fact. Every year we make suggestions of projects for students to carry out in their final year of the undergraduate degree. And I offered a project on HIV. I think it was something about vaccine development or something. And anyway, so I heard that this student was interested, and so we got together and started talking about it. And as you do, I said, what interested you in this project? And she said, because I have HIV. And I was surprised that she was so open about it, really. But anyway, we were talking about it, and it's a very, very sad story. She had an HIV infection all her life. She was infected by her mum when she was born, and her father had died of an HIV-related illness. Her mother was infected as well. Was now on treatment, although she wasn't on treatment when she had this student. The student was born, which is why she got infected. But she had two subsequent children that fortunately she was on treatment at that stage, so she didn't pass the infection onto the student's siblings. But very, very sad. And so hence, the student was on treatment for, she will be on treatment for the rest of her life. And, she'll always be thinking, what's going to happen? Am I going to survive this? I actually, had some email communication with her over the last few days, and she give me a bit of an update on where she is. She's healthy. She's had a son recently who's fit and healthy and not infected, which is great. But what really inspires me about her is that, in effect, what she gives back. Life has given her a pretty raw deal with what she has to put up with, but yet she works in one of the teaching hospitals in London. I can't remember which one now, but she works as a counsellor, and she counsels mainly young kids with HIV. Talks to them, befriends them, encourages them to take their treatments. Some of them actually don't even know that they're infected, actually, because their parents have, decided that they're not sort of old enough to know those details yet. But she still, befriends them and talks to them and encourages them to keep taking their treatments and things. And now she's started working with older people as well. She's a real inspiration to them. And I just want to read a few lines out from an email she sent me just a couple of days ago, in fact. Because I asked her, are you still doing this stuff? Are you still counselling? And she said yes. I'll just read this. She said, I love what I do. I hope one day I will share my story with the world. And I'm sure she will, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if she does. Nothing fulfills me like doing this job. I'm not paid to do it, but I love it. I go home knowing that I've touched someone else's life positively. This is one thing I will never give up. I feel like giving up on this is like giving up on myself. So, she's really made something, really quite, something terrible, potentially life-threatening infection of hers. And she's turned it into something very positive because she's given something back. She's helping people in a very similar situation, giving them, in effect, the benefit of her experience as someone who's infected, as someone who's living with this infection, someone who's had a child who fortunately has not been infected, but she lives with that every day, and she's got so much to give, and she gives so much. So she really is a real inspiration to those people. And I sometimes think actually, what I do in my job and in my life, and I think probably already she's done far more than I'll ever do. So that, she's been a real inspiration to me, but a student. Not someone eminent who's really, done what. Actually, as it turned out, she didn't get a particularly good degree, actually. I think she would agree she's not sort of Brain of Britain, but, she does so much and she gives so much back. So she's such an inspiration. So, if she can do it, everyone can do it. I think everyone can give other people the benefit of their knowledge and their experience. So, the take-home message then from my talk, develop an interest for things. Be interested in things and be interesting. Have a thirst for knowledge, not just about your subject, but generally. When you don't know something, try and find out yourself. Use all the resources available to you. Look it up. Treat everyone with respect and dignity, and use all of your knowledge and your experience to make a difference.